The Government of India has proposed the Environmental Impact Assessment 2020. The draft notification is out. In fact, it was opened for public consultation. That has closed on the 11th of August. So let's look at the two sides. Is EIA 2020 a boon or a bane? Well, clearly the Ministry of Environment and Forest argues that it's a boon because it aims at striking a fine balance between sustainable development and environment protection. The ministry argues that these two things do not have to be mutually exclusive, they can go hand in hand, and the idea is to fast track projects which will enhance economic growth. Remember, the objective of Prime Minister Modi is to reach a 5 trillion economy by 2025, and working towards that end, the government aims at clearing certain projects which will help boost economy, which will generate employment. Industries should be allowed to prosper so that there is enough opportunities created for the young people. So it all works towards that end. And therefore, this draft proposal only eases out certain procedural hurdles. It falls in line with ease of business. It falls in line with Atmanirbhar Bharat. The second point of argument is the ministry, of course, gives a number of examples on how even if a certain project causes some amount of environmental damage, that can be compensated. So the example that Mr. Prakash Javadekar gave was of Delhi Metro, saying each metro station obviously required clearing out a certain patch of land which has required felling of trees, but there was a corresponding afforestation project taken up and more number of trees were planted, and today you have a bustling Delhi Metro that is being used by 5 million people every day. So he feels that this is a win-win situation. It can be done, and both these things can go together. You can have development projects, you can have these kind of mega industries or projects that is required for the economy, and at the same time the environment can be protected. The third point of argument that the ministry, of course, harps on each and every time is that this is a draft. It's not the final shape of the policy, and this was given enough space for public consultation, for debate and discussion. So what the ministry argues is that there was enough due process of deliberation done over it. People were given their time to come up with suggestions, and all of that is now come in, which will be scrutinized. Therefore, they feel that the activists who are crying foul over it are doing so rather preposterously, because this is not the final shape. All those suggestions will be considered and then a final shape will be given. What's on the other side? Well, on the other side, clearly climate change activists, environmentalists are quite up in arms against certain proposals of this draft. Firstly, they are totally opposed to the idea of post facto approval, which the draft proposes. What it means is that for any project, a clearance can be taken later as well. The project can be started and a clearance can be taken later in case there is any sort of environmental damage that is caused. A remedial plan can be put in place. Now, this has angered activists a lot, because this would give a lot of leeway to industry giants. It would be open for misuse, and they feel that this is one provision which will be widely exploited. So they are totally against this particular provision. Secondly, they feel that EIA 2020 is actually a dilution of the previous provisions that existed. It's a watered down version. It is being done to hastily allow projects at the cost of environment. So they are quite opposed to certain provisions. Secondly, they're opposed to the idea of granting exemptions to certain categories. Now, the government has conveniently created an exemption list. In that, you have projects of public convenience. It has things like bridges and flyovers which can be built without any environmental clearance at all. So that exemption list is something again that the activists are totally opposed to. They feel that it would tantamount to bulldozing over green cover in the name of a developmental project, and that can be extremely detrimental to the environment. It can be a hazard to public health. Even coal mining in certain instances are kept in the exempted list, which again has alarmed a lot of activists. And thirdly, of course, the larger point of argument is that when the government talks about remedial measures or compensatory benefits, etc., what activists don't understand is that, it cannot be worked out in that mathematical way when it comes to environment. Now, even as we speak right now, the Baghjan gas blowout is still on. Experts from across the world have not been able to cap it. So one can just imagine the level of contamination that's happening to air, water, soil in Tinsukia district of Assam. Entire human settlement is impacted, not just this generation, for coming several generations as well. So that is the level of impact we are talking about, and a proper scrutiny and a proper assessment is critical, which the government perhaps is trying to bypass, is what the activists feel. And similarly for the issue of rainforest, now you cannot replicate a rainforest. There's certain eco-sensitive zones which cannot be, it's not just about felling a few trees and then planting them elsewhere. Rainforest has a certain eco-sensitivity which cannot be replicated. So a lot of times activists feel that the government departments, ministries, officers, bureaucrats do not have the domain knowledge. So this whole policy about making a compensation, etc., does not work in that mathematical fashion when it comes to environment. And the larger point, which perhaps a lot of people agree on, is that when it comes to the forest cover or the green cover, that's the lungs of the planet. So there can be absolutely no argument of tampering with your lungs, with your breathing, for creating any other kind of opportunity. So those are the two sides. Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching Two Sides with Afreen.